at stage 6, paragraph page 489. Okay, and our last headword was model, new word, type of lesson. 489 model. Okay, so let's start with our revision. Ready?
Okay.
Okay, let me just scroll down. 483. Okay, here we go. First question. Okay, so what's the most important difference between tell and say? What's the most important difference between tell and say? The most
The
important
most important
difference
difference
between tell and
between
say.
say
Tell and say
tell and say
is that after
is that
tell,
after
we
tell
indicate the
we
person we
indicate
are
the
speaking
person
to.
we are
But
speaking to,
after
but
say, we
after say
usually do
we
not.
usually do not.
Do not. Very good. Okay. Next, give me an example. Give me an example, please. She told him
He told
that
him
it was
that it
important.
was important.
She said it
She
was
said
important.
it was important.
Very good. After the verb say, how is it possible to indicate the person we are speaking to? After the verb say, how is it possible to indicate the person we are speaking to? After the verb
After
say,
the verb
it's
say,
possible to
it's
indicate
possible
the
to
person
indicate the
we are
person
speaking
we
to
are speaking
by
to
using the
by
word to.
using the word to.
Very good. Okay. For direct speech, which verb do we normally use? Say or tell. For direct speech, which verb do we normally use? Say or tell. For direct speech,
For direct
we
speech,
normally
we
use
normally
the verb
use the
say.
verb say.
Very good. Give me an example. Give me an example, please. She said,
He
I'm
said,
hungry.
I'm hungry.
Very good. Which of these sentences is correct? He told me to go away or he said me to go away. Which of these sentences is correct? He told me to go away or he said me to go away. The first
The
sentence,
first
he
sentence,
told me
he
to go
told me
away,
to go
is
away,
correct.
is correct.
Very good. What are the three forms of rice? What are the three forms of rice? The three
The
forms
three
of
forms
rice
of
are
rice
rice,
are
rose,
rice,
risen.
rose, risen.
Very good. Have you ever risen before the sun has risen? Have you ever risen before the sun has risen? Yes or no?
No,
I've never
I've
risen
never risen
before the sun has
before the
risen.
sun has risen.
Very good. What's the difference between to earn and to gain? What's the difference between to earn and to gain? The
The
difference between
difference between
to earn
to
and
earn
to gain
and
is
to
that
gain
the
is
verb
that
to
the
earn
verb to
means
earn means
to receive
to
money
receive
from
money
work done,
from work done,
whereas the
whereas
verb to
the
gain
verb to gain
generally means
generally
to get
means to
more
get
of
more
something.
of something.
Very good. If I bought a business for £4 million and sold it later for half that amount, would I be gaining by doing so? If I bought a business for £4 million and sold it later for half that amount, would I be gaining by doing so? No. If you
No,
bought a
if you
business
want a business
for
to
four million
for
pounds
4 million pounds
and sold it
and
later
sold it later
for half that
for
amount,
perhaps
for half that amount,
half that amount,
I wouldn't be
I
gaining
wouldn't be gaining
by doing so.
by doing so.
I'd be losing.
I'd be losing.
Very good. How much would your loss be? How much would your loss be? My loss
I
be
my loss to be two
£2 million.
million pounds.
Does your watch generally gain or lose time, or does it keep perfect time? Does your watch generally gain or lose time, or does it keep perfect time? My watch
My watch
generally
generally
keep
keep
perfect time.
perfect time.
Very good. What's the best way to gain friends? What's the best way to gain friends? The best
The
way
best
to
way
gain
to gain
friends is to
friends
be nice
is
to
to be
people.
nice to people.
Very good. How long does it take the average student to gain a degree at university in your country? How long does it take the average student to gain a degree at university in your country? It takes the
It
average
takes
student
the average student
about
uh, about 4 years
to gain a
to
degree
gain a
at
degree
university
at
in my
university
country.
in my country.
As regards learning a language, would you gain anything by going to the country where it was spoken? As regards learning a language, would you gain anything by going to the country where it was spoken? Yes. As
Yes.
regards
As
learning a
regards
language,
running a language,
I gained something
I'd gain
by
something
going to the
by going
country
to the
where
country
it was spoken.
where it was spoken,
Why? Why? Because I'd
because
be able
I'd be
to
able
speak the
to
language
speak the
every
language
day.
every day.
Very good. Are there any marks on these walls? Are there any marks on these walls? Yes or no?
Yes,
There
there
are some
are
marks
some
on
marks
those walls.
on those walls.
What kind of marks are they? What kind of marks are they? They are
They
native
are
camp
native
marks.
camp marks.
Very good. Who marks your dictations? Who marked your dictations? I marked my
I mark my
dictations myself.
dictations myself.
How many marks did you get in your last English exam? How many marks did you get in your last English exam? I got
I got
100 marks
100
out
marks
of
per out
100
of 100
in my last
in my
English
last
exam.
English exam.
Which petrol company do you think has the most well-known trademark? Which petrol company do you think has the most well-known trademark? I think
I
Shell
think
has
Shell
the most
has the
well-known
most
trademark.
well-known web trademark.
Very good. What part of the book is this? What part of the book is this? That part of the
That
book
part of the
is
book
the bottom
is the
or the
bottom
base.
or the base.
What do you consider to be the basis of good health or good life? What do you consider to be the basis of a good life? I consider
I
good health
consider good health
to be the basis
to be the
of a
basis
good life.
of a good life.
But is it normal for language learners to continue making basic grammatical mistakes even though they know the rules? Is it normal for language learners to continue making basic grammatical mistakes even though they know the rules? Yes, it's
Yes,
normal
it's
for
normal
language learners
for language
to
learners
continue
to
making
continue making
basic grammatical
basic
mistakes
grammatical
even
mistakes,
though they know
even
the
though
rules.
they know the words.
Very good. What do you think is basically the difference between your own language and English? What do you think is basically the difference between your own language and English? I think that
I think that
basically the difference
basically
between
the difference
my
between
own
my
language
own
and
language
English
and
is
English is grammar.
very good. When you stay at a hotel for one night, does the price you pay usually include breakfast? When you stay at a hotel for one night, does the price you pay usually include breakfast? Yes or no?
Yes,
When I
that
stay
when I
at
stay
a hotel
at
for
the
one night,
hotel for one
the
night,
price I
the
pay
price I pay
usually
usually
includes breakfast.
included breakfast.
Very good. What do we use to clean our shoes with? What do we use to clean our shoes with? We use a
We
shoe
use
brush
a shoe
to clean
brush
our
to
shoes
clean
with.
our shoes with.
What other kinds of brushes are there? What other kinds of brushes are there? There are
There
hairbrushes,
are little brushes,
hairbrushes,
hair brushes,
toothbrushes,
toothbrushes,
paint brushes,
paint
etc.
brushes, etc.
Very good. Do you like to watch boxing? Do you like to watch boxing? Yes or no?
And no,
I
I
don't
don't.
like to
I
watch
don't like
boxing.
to watch boxing
Why not? Why not? Because
because they are rough sports.
very good. What type of film do you watch most? What type of film do you watch most? I watch
I watch. I watch comedy
the most.
the most.
Very good. Can you type? Can you type? Yes, I
Yes,
can
I
type.
can type
How many words a minute? How many words a minute? About 60
about
words
60
a minute.
words a minute.
A
A
minute.
minute.
Very good. Have you met me on many previous occasions? Have you met me on many previous occasions? Yes, I've met
Yes,
you
I've
on
met
many
you
previous
on
occasions.
many previous occasions.
Very good. Did you have any previous experience of the Callan method before you came here? Did you have any previous experience of the Callan method before you came here? Yes or no?
Yes, no,
I
I,
didn't have
I didn't have
any previous
any
experience
previous
of the
experience
Callan method
of the Callan method
before I came here.
before I came here.
Very good. Why do people often make videos of special occasions like weddings? Why do people often make videos of special occasions like weddings? People often make
People often make
videos of
previous
special
of
occasions
special
like
occasions
weddings
like weddings
so that
so that
they can remember
they
them
can
better.
remember them better.
Very good. What do we mean by a street plan of a town? What do we mean by a street plan of a town? By a street plan
By a
of a
street
town,
of a town,
we mean a map
we mean a map
showing the streets
showing the
of the
street
town
of the town
and their names.
and their names.
Do you usually write your plans in a diary? Do you usually write your plans in a diary? Yes or no?
Yes.
I
I
usually write
usually
my plans
write my
in a
plans
diary.
in a diary.
Megan, do you think it's a good idea for teenagers to plan their future while still at school? Do you think it's a good idea for teenagers to plan their future while still at school? Yes or no?
Yes.
I think
That
it's a
I
good
think it's
idea
a good
for
idea
teenagers
for
to
teenagers
plan their
to plan
futures
their
while
futures
still at school.
while still at school
Why? Why? Because
because they have a they have a time
they have more time
they have a more time
of planning.
of a planning.
Very good. Do you think a young person should be allowed to plan their own future without the interference of their parents? Do you think a young person should be allowed to plan their own future without the interference of their parents? Yes or no?
No,
I
I don't
don't think
think
a young person
a young
should be
person
allowed
should be
to
allowed
plan their own
to plan
future
their most future
without the
without
interference
the
of their
interference of
parents.
their parents
Why not? Why not? Because
because they are young.
yeah, very good. Okay, next. What are the two basic types of auxiliary verb in English? What are the two basic types of auxiliary verb in English? The two basic
The
types.
two
Basic types
basic
of
types
auxiliary verb
of auxiliary verb
in English are
in English are
primary
the
auxiliaries
primary
and
auxiliaries
modal
and the
auxiliaries.
modal auxiliaries.
Very good. What are the primary auxiliaries? What are the primary auxiliaries? The primary
The
auxiliary
primary
are the
auxiliaries
verbs
are
be,
the verbs we
have, and do.
have and do.
Very good. When do we use the auxiliary be? When do we use the auxiliary be? We use
We
the
use
auxiliary
the
be
auxiliary
to make
be
the
to make
continuous
the
tenses
continuous sentence
and the passive
and
voice
put a passive
and
voice
the passive voice.
and the passive voice.
Give me an example. Give me an example, please. I am speaking
I am
English
speaking
now.
English now.
Where this book was printed.
This,
This
this
book
book
was
this
printed
book was
in
printed
England.
in England.
Very good. Okay, next. When do we use the auxiliary have? When do we use the auxiliary have? We use
We
the
use
auxiliary
the
have
auxiliary verb
for the perfect
for the
tenses.
perfect tenses.
Very good. Give me an example. Give me an example, please. He has gone
He
to
has gone
Scotland.
to Scotland.
Very good. When do we use the auxiliary do? When do we use the auxiliary do? We use
We
the
use
auxiliary
the
do
auxiliary do
for the present
for the
simple
present
and
simple
past simple.
and past simple.
Give me an example. Give me an example, please. I don't speak
I don't
Spanish.
speak Spanish.
Did she eat the
Did
pasta?
she eat the pasta?
Very good. What are the 10 common models? What are the 10 common models? The 10 common
The
models
common
are can,
models are
could,
can,
will,
could,
would,
will,
may,
would,
might,
may,
shall,
might,
should,
shall, should,
must, and ought.
must, and
Ought.
ought.
Very good. What ideas do models normally express? What models no what ideas do models normally express? Models normally
Models
express
normally express
ideas about
ideas
necessity
about necessity
or possibility.
or possibility.
Very good. Okay, now I will give you a sentence and you say a sentence with the same meaning but with a model, okay? There you go.
Okay.
John is able to speak French. John is able to speak French. John can speak
John
French.
can speak French.
Perhaps he works in a bank. Perhaps he works in a bank. He might work
He
in a
might
bank.
work in the bank.
It is necessary for me to go to bed now. It is necessary for me to go to bed now. I must go
I
to
must
bed
go
now.
to bed now.
You are not allowed to smoke in this building. You are not allowed to smoke in this building. You can't smoke
You can't
in this
smoke
building.
in this building.
Very good. Okay, that's the end of our revision. Let's have
Okay.
new word. Okay, let's continue this new word. Okay, listen. After a model, we put the infinitive with to. For example, we say, I must go and not I must to go. Okay? So, the only exception to this rule is ought. Okay, so for example, we say, I should call my mom soon. But if we express the same idea with ought, we say, I ought to call my mom soon. Okay, so we don't put to usually in model, but ought we put. Okay, let's practice. What do we put after a model? What do we put after a model? We put the
We
infinitive
put the
without
infinitive
to
without to
after a model.
after a model.
Give me an example. Give me an example, please. I must send
I must
this
send
email today.
this email to me.
Which model is the only exception to this rule? Which model is the only exception to this rule? Ought is
Odd
the only
is the
exception
only exception
to this rule.
to this rule.
Give me an example. Give me an example, please. I ought to see
I
a
ought to
doctor.
see a doctor.
Very good. Next, repeat step.
Set,
Oh, with the letter T. Step.
set.
Very good. Okay, listen. The word set is a verb. It means to adjust to a particular point or time. For example, I forgot to set my alarm and I overslept. The time set for a game of football is 90 minutes. That is 45 minutes each way. I think a life where you do things whenever you want is better than a life where you have a set time for doing everything, such as eating, sleeping, etc. Another meaning of the word set is to put something into place. For example, I set my books down on the table when I came into the room at the beginning of the lesson. Okay, let's practice. What does the word set mean in Japanese? What does the word set mean in Japanese? The word set
The word
means
set mean
set in Japanese.
set,
Set.
wait,
The word set in Japanese.
set,
Like
set
set
oh,
your books.
oku
Aku in Japanese.
in Japanese.
Very good. How long is the time set for a game of football? How long is the time set for a game of football? The time set
The time
for a
set
game of
for a
football
game of football
is 90
is
minutes.
90 minutes.
That is
That
45
is
minutes each
45
way.
minutes each way.
Very good. What kind of life do you think is better? A life where you have a set time for doing everything, such as eating, sleeping, etc., or a life where you do these things whenever you want? What kind of life do you think is better? A life where you have a set time for doing everything, such as eating, sleeping, etc., or a life where you do these things whenever you want? I think a life
I think
where
alive.
you do things,
Where do things?
where you do things,
Where do you things?
you do things
You do things
whenever you want
whenever you
is
want
better than a
is
life
better than alive.
where you do things,
Where do things?
where you do things
Where do you things?
in a set time,
In the set time,
such as eating,
such as eating,
sleeping, etc.
sleeping, etc.
Sleeping, etc. Very good,
Sleeping, etc.
etc. Okay. What did I set down on the table when I came into the room at the beginning of the lesson? What did I set down on the table when I came into the room at the beginning of the lesson? You set your
You
book
set your
down
book down
on the table
on the
when
table
you came into
when
the
you came
room
into the
at the
room
beginning of the
at the
lesson.
beginning of the lesson.
Where if your watch isn't showing the right time, what do you have to do? If your watch isn't showing the right time, what do you have to do? If my
If
watch
I my watch
isn't showing
it isn't
the right
showing
time,
the right
I have
time,
to set
I
it
have
right.
to set it right.
Very good. Thanks. Repeat. Sunrise.
Sunrise,
Sunset.
sunset.
Very good. Okay, one moment. Okay, there we go. Okay, one moment. Let's just refresh.